Parker is Managing Director of FTI, which is an engineering and instrumentation business. Andrew, can you join me? Obviously, a lot of what Mark was saying was focusing on sales and customers. Andrew, that obviously resonated quite a lot with you, and I know you've done quite a lot of work with Mark. Would you like to tell us how you won the business and obtained the customers you truly desired? And your supplementary then is what sort of marketing ideas and distribution channels have been most effective in your business?
Yeah. A lot of the stuff that Mark said, the particular exercise about the ideal customers is what we've done, and very much so when we first started. Any customer that buys something and pays for it was our ideal customer. We've grown a hell of a lot in the last sort of 18 months, couple of years, and the one thing we haven't got is time anymore. So that's our most precious resource that we've got. So we went through the exercise of this ideal customer, and we've always monitored very much turnover, profitability of each of those customers, and always really only looked at those two things. And some of the other questions that we basically asked, which helps with the exercise, I guess, if you're going to do what Mark has said, was things like we said, we just literally asked every internal person, every external person, what customer takes your most amount of time and is the most energy sapping? And they all said the same series of customers. When I went and took those customer names away, with the exception of one, they were also all our lowest margin customers in terms of just margin on sales. The other thing we did was, where are they in relation to where our sales team are, and how often they need visiting to be able to maintain and grow that business. And again, we found out that some of our customers that were in the most remote places were also the ones that were needing the most proactive visits. We then did put our debtor days down next to every customer, and then put each customer into a market segment. So ours are like, whether it be subcontractor or R&D or OEM, and all of the ones that were the worst payers and took the most amount of time were all in the same market sector. We then went and looked at what we actually thought the future of that business should look like in terms of these customers. So in terms of what sort of customers did we want and enjoy working with most, and we found really it's just like small businesses that are growing faster. So we latched ourselves onto those fast growing businesses, but also the people that are the next people that will be in those businesses. So we've sort of proactively then gone back and said, so which PhD students coming out of which universities are most likely to go into these industry sectors, and then followed those through from the universities that we do a lot of work with as well. So we looked at it very much completely aside from turnover and margin. And then we said two different things that we made, or we tried to reinforce with everyone at work, which is no sale is luck. Every sale, at some point, someone has done something to get that sale. It might be something that happened 5 years ago, 10 years ago, however long ago, but you've got that order for a reason, for something that you've done. And we're just continually saying, you just got to try and do as many of those little things as often as you can. And the other thing is, we've just become, I guess, incredibly hard on ourselves. If we have a great month where we could say, oh, well done, we'll be beating ourselves up over why that one customer didn't do what we said they'd do at the beginning of the month. And Mark is, I don't know whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, but been particularly good at, well, not ever letting you lose focus on what you said you're going to do. So if I said, I am going to contact these 10 customers and this one is going to grow by 25%, I could have the best month we've ever had, and he'll be saying, but that customer you're talking about only grew by 15%. And you said that you were expecting a 25% growth from that. So why didn't you get the 25% growth? And then try and roll that back out of all the things we've done. So that completely changed out. After we found this ideal customer, it completely changed how we marketed then. So our marketing had always been very much like a shotgun approach of, we've got a website, which every time we took on a new product, we just added to the website. And we've got a load of customers on a database, which we'll email out every time we get a new customer, and the database got bigger and bigger and bigger, so we emailed it out to more and more and more people. Very much just like spraying it around everywhere, hoping that somebody would come back to us. So we just ended up with loads more non-ideal customers from all the people that came back to that, buying non-ideal product again. So we've carried on this shotgun approach, but in a more tailored approach. So our website now, we've decided what product we want to market and to what marketplace, so we'll spend a lot of time and effort on those particular bits of the website and how we promote it, and not worry about so much of the other bits. We're only a small company, and we can't get into the bigger companies by just turning up on their door and knocking on the door. but we know what products now they struggle to buy. So we've concentrated massively on how do we promote these things they can't find from anywhere. We're in quite a specialist market. Last month before last, we got inquiries on the web from National Grid, GE and Rolls-Royce. And that, for us, a company our size, that doesn't happen. But I know all our purpose target on the website the month before. So we've been very specific on the email mail shots that we send out. We're now only sending a particular product range to a particular section of those people, so we can actually deal with it when it comes back. But nearly all of our marketing now is what we're calling our sniper approach. So we know who our ideal customer is, and we're going after them very specifically and very methodically. So whereas we always envisaged wanting to go to a big exhibition somewhere and have a big stand and everything like that, we're completely not interested in that at all now. We want to go to the smallest exhibition that might only have 20 people at it, that's incredibly specialist, but every one of those 20 people could buy from us. And they're all our ideal customers. And they're also miles cheaper to go to. We do a lot of tabletop exhibitions in particular customers where, because we know when we start talking to people technically we can look very good, we've just got to get face to face to them. Again, very cheap to do, and usually most of these places want people to do those things. Yeah, you have a bit of boring time stood in reception, but everybody walks past you, and if you can find something to latch onto them with, it soon goes around very quickly. We've done a lot of things on like forums and things, just researching the background, forums and LinkedIn and things like that. Not to have lots of friends and talk to people, but you find out where everyone's moving, where different people are going, what different industries they're moving into, and where the next set of industries are. And an awful lot of work, it might not be the same for every business, but in engineering particularly, all of the universities now have incubator units, they're called. So every time to promote new business, somebody does a good PhD, and they then the university part own the business, and they part own the business. Well, some of those companies that we started dealing with 3 years ago, well, 3 of them in particular are the 3 largest fuel cell companies in the UK now. And we helped them for 150 quid kit out a little tiny bit of a lab where they just needed to connect to it. So now they're Chief Scientific Officer of X, Y and Z. So we've been very, very focused about what we do, and also we've massively scaled down the number of people that we used to do it to. So previously we would have said we're going to send out 300 emails or 30 letters or whatever. Now we might do 3, and they'll all be followed up by either me or my sales and marketing director. So if we decide we're going to go for that little bit of a product, it gets followed up to the absolute nth degree, and when we've either won it, great, it goes on your pipeline and it gets dealt with the same as any other sale, or if it's lost, it goes off the radar, and then we'll just pick the next 3. So we never bite off more than we can chew in any one go. We're busy in every other area, so we've got to get the foundations right, and then every customer we pick now has to be one of these ideal customers. So yeah, I mean, look, I'd like to say it's my idea, but unfortunately it was Mark's, the ideal customer point of view. But if you
get the bill later.
Yeah, if you ask everybody, they all of a sudden just become blatantly obvious who you should be talking to, and it's all the people you're not talking to. So that's the best exercise we've done, definitely.
Thank you, Andrew. I mean, Andrew's obviously very passionate about his business. He's had the rigorous challenge, and he's got the focus. Yeah. Those are the key points that we're trying to get across to you, I think, from Andrew's piece. Yeah. Very quickly, Andrew, we've touched on KPIs, but cash is obviously very important in businesses at the moment. Have you got anything that you've been looking at to focus on KPIs and cash in particular in your business?
Very recently, yes. Before that, no. I guess we've been pretty lucky over the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. We haven't had an overdraft facility, we haven't needed it. We haven't had Apple's 84 billion sat in the reserve account. We've had enough that sort of, it was okay for most day-to-day things. And to be honest, I probably took my eye off what was going on really, because anything that was big, we saved for, that was okay. The smaller stuff just took care of itself. At the moment we're looking at buying a commercial property, and the bank asked for a 2-year cash flow forecast for that. We've never had a 2-year cash flow forecast. We've had a 2-month maybe, or a few more months if there's something big coming up. So working with Phil, we basically developed like a full cash flow forecast for the next 2 years, every line about P&L, all the different costs that we're expecting to have, our sales are changing, margins, stocks, debtors, creditors, And I was sort of like really pleased. You know, last year we grew a lot. This year, planning on growing a lot, on target. And get the phone call to say, got the cash flow forecast done. If you hit target at the exact margin that you want to make, your overdraft facility won't be big enough come next August. Which was like, oh right, okay then, what's gone wrong there? And that was really the first time I started digging a bit deeper really. And our one was down to debtor days. Most of our customers pay okay, but when you look a bit closer, a lot of them don't. And we sat down with this cash flow model, literally just plugged in different, took our current debtor days, plugged in different of what we thought might be achievable, and then watched how it affected. And for us, like the swing was £250,000 is the swing in changing our debtor days by 10 days, which is a lot of extra money that I'd much prefer to have in my account rather than be borrowing from someone else. And we sort of took that as a realistic target that we're going to aim for, reducing our debtor days to this set number. And previously we probably would have said, okay, so now our target's this, and we would have carried on printing off the same thing off a Sage and looking at the 60, 90 and 120 day column and highlighting a couple of things and saying, can you follow those ones up because they haven't paid. We didn't do that this time. We've literally broken down the debtors into their 30, 45, 60 day accounts, and then now on top of that we've targeted it weekly. So basically the person who's chasing the money and knows that each one of those columns X% needs to be owing after week 1 of the month, Y after week 2, Z after week 3, and we've been very specific about it and agreed those targets with them, but it's made a massive, massive difference in, well, 2 months basically, because it's just, before it was always, all you ever chased was what was late, or what you were told to chase, or there was a big bill coming up so that's what you chased. Whereas now, we've set KPIs in every bit of the business now, some of which are our headline stats, which are everybody sees, which is only 16 things we're monitoring for from each of our different bits of departments, but there's more stuff that sits behind that in terms of, in each department we've got more of them. But just this one, I think the lady that's doing it, well, she thinks she's doing brilliantly, and she is, because we didn't do any credit control before, and now the days are just coming down, and she's hitting every one of the targets week on week. And all I'm interested in is I see a piece of paper at the end of the month, and each of those targets have been hit throughout the weeks. Well, I think credit control just becomes I just phone up lots of people and keep on ringing them if they don't pay, whereas now what she's thinking about is, right, okay, I'm going to get that number from that to that somehow this week. That could be one phone call to one person and they pay the 30 grand, or there might not be a nice big lump sitting in that column that she's got to get rid of and she's got to chase up all the little ones. But ultimately, because it's broken down into such manageable little tasks, one, I feel much more comfortable, two, it's made a big difference already, and I'm hoping that another quarter out of the way and we can maybe revisit the cash flow model again, tweak them down a little bit more as to what we're now actually currently getting, and ultimately it's just money in your bank. And it's in this climate now, no one is going to pay you unless they have to pay you. It's that simple. And there's different ways you can do it. You know, there's the nice way, there's the harder way. And I just think we're trying to always be as ourselves. You were saying modelling it on yourself. We want to be open, friendly, chatty, and that's what we've encouraged. That style of credit control. We don't want to shout at people. We're just going to phone up and say, "Oh God, can you help us out? We're good. You know, you're a little bit late. We could really do with that." But if you do that, whereas before they were getting like one phone call probably every 6 months when something was really late. Now they're getting a phone call regardless, asking them when they're paying the money that's not due for another 4 weeks. And then when you've got them to say, that'll go on the payment run at the end of this, you can then phone them up 2 weeks before that and say, just checking we're still on that first payment run, aren't we? And you just completely jumped ahead of all the people that are only banging when they're desperate for the money. And I think it made a big difference to her, and hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll make a massive difference to us. But the model itself has been brilliant. Well,
okay, has anybody got anything they desperately want to get off their chest? Only chance of speaking to 3 accountants for free, so that's
quick, almost that something.
may never happen again. Anybody got any questions? There is one. Fantastic, sir.
related to, not a financial question, but related to Graham's comments about
Do we need a
the
lawyer?
recognition side of things, in particular, the importance you had of that. Can you just share maybe when you say recognition, you had a reminder to thank people at the end of the week. Are there any other things that you found were particularly effective in terms of recognising your staff and motivating them that way?
I'd say they're also different as well. We were talking about this before, and I struggle so much with. I just thought, oh, well, everyone's going to be like me. You're going to be more. This is how I definitely have more recognition or more feedback back when I walked in with plonked a bottle of wine on everyone's desk and just said, no particular reason, I just know it's been a nightmare of a week.
Yeah.
I get more thanks for that than any bonus I've ever paid to anybody. And the bonus is almost like, well, that wasn't enough. We were 25% up and I only got X. And you think, the bottle of wine cost £5. But they weren't expecting it. And also I've just stopped doing anything at a time that would relate to when they'd be expecting it. So I don't ever reward things at the end of a month or at the end of a quarter or at the end of a financial year, because they're always associating it with, there might be other rewards that sit alongside that, but something in the midweek when they're not expecting it, or something midway through a month, they're not getting used to receiving that forever or relying on it, because everyone now is just thinking, if you can potentially get 10% bonus, well, that's spent. That's gone because I'm already £1,000 overdrawn or whatever it might be. So all the little extra things that aren't actually cash, because the cash just gets swallowed up.